clause 3a2. When you say La ilaha illallah, you are truly putting your trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your hopes and fears, your thoughts. If you are going to think about something and you are trying to attain something, my brothers and sisters, it has to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are completely putting your trust and your hopes with Him. You have to understand and think about that. If we talk about the next slide, clause 3a, 3 and 4, and it says, call for help and pray to and seek refuge only in Allah without considering any intercessor to Him, be that of an angel or a prophet or a saint. Now, these are just not mere sentences and words. These are manifestations. This should be the outcome of that statement. And there are some words I want to underline here, my brothers and sisters. When you are saying that you will not take the intercessor as any saint, prophet, or angel, what does that mean? What does that mean in today's reality? This, when you make that statement, you are refuting and you're basically saying, I do not turn to any saint. I will not bow down in front of anyone, no matter what that person is. Anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you say, bow before none, worship none, offer homage to none except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alone He is the one who deserves ibadah. When you are making these statements, they're just not statements. Moving on. Clause 3a, 5 and 6. What are they talk about? They say, accept Allah as the sovereign of the universe and as the supreme lawgiver. And the next statement says, exercise his or her freedom in the submission to Allah, and to remain faithful servant and refrain from servitude of his or her lust and desires. And I want you to understand there are key words in these statements. The first key word that I want to talk about is the sovereign. My brothers and sisters, we see the results of not having Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sovereign. We see the results when human beings were given the right to decide of what's halal and haram. We see the results of what has become of our communities and societies and our countries and nations, and the divisions that we have created. When you are outside of that box, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His mercy, He has given human beings the code of conduct, the code, the ethics of and the values of how you interact and work in a society, how societies must be run. But when you start to really go outside of that, you will get to the divided nations that we see around us. You will see the results and the havoc that it creates. In the next statement, when I make the statement about exercising the freedom in the submission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does that mean? You have to understand the word freedom. In one place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that no one is compelled to accept the deen of Allah. So, because people have this wrong, concepts or preconceived notions about Islam and how it would have been forced on people. And the opposite is very true, to be honest with you. The true fact of the matter is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the human being the complete freedom. If we consider Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the just, to be fair, then how could we assume that He is going to force somebody to do something wrong or force somebody to do something good, and at the end of the day, He will put them to account? So you're basically saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold my hands and make me do something, and at the end of the day, He is going to make me accountable for that? And I'm attributing as a result of that unfairness, na'udhu billah, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's completely wrong. As a matter of fact, what has been given to us, when I say La ilaha illallah, I'm actually declaring that I am accepting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as my creator, my sustainer, by my free will. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised not to interfere in this thing. And He does not force anyone to do this.